Welcome to Geography for Everyone. Learn now, enjoy later. In this week's episode we will discover one of the most developed country, Japan. Japan is an island nation in East Asia, located in the Pacific Ocean. It lies to the east of the Sea of Japan, North Korea, China, South Korea and Russia, stretching from the Sea of Okhotsk in the north to the East China Sea and Taiwan in the south. There are four main islands, Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu, but the Japanese archipelago consists of 6,852 islands in total. It has a total area of 377,930 square kilometers. Though, in terms of area, Japan is quite small, but in terms of population Japan is the world's 11th largest populated country, with more than 125.8 million people. Japan population is equivalent to 1.62% of the total world population. Unlike many other countries around the world today, the population of Japan appears largely homogeneous, with the final population statistics comprised of a 98.5% contribution from ethnic Japanese people. In addition, there is a very small proportion of foreign workers living here, largely made up of Koreans, Chinese, Peruvians and Brazilians. Japanese or Nihongo is a language spoken by over 130 million people in Japan and Japanese immigrant communities around the world. The Japanese language is written with a combination of three different types of scripts: Chinese characters, kanji, and two-syllabic scripts, hiragana and katakana. Most people in Japan identify with a religion, however it usually doesn't play a huge role in their everyday lives. A large majority of the Japanese consider themselves to be either Buddhist, Shintoist or both. There are also a small number of Christians in Japan. Japan has 47 prefectures. On the basis of geographical and historical background, these prefectures can be divided into 8 regions: Hokkaido, Tohoku, Kanto, Chubu, Kinki, Chugoku, Shikoku, and Kyushu Okinawa. Each region has its own dialect, customs, and unique traditional culture. Tokyo is Japan's capital and the world's most populous metropolis. It is also one of Japan's 47 prefectures, consisting of 23 central city wards and multiple cities, towns and villages west of the city center. The Izu and Ogasawara Islands are also part of Tokyo. Prior to 1868, Tokyo was known as Edo. A small castle town in the 16th century, Edo became Japan's political center in 1603, when Tokugawa Ieyasu established his feudal government there. A few decades later, Edo had grown into one of the world's most populous cities. With the Meiji Restoration of 1868, the emperor and capital moved from Kyoto to Edo, which was renamed Tokyo. Large parts of Tokyo were destroyed in the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 and in the air raids of 1945. Now, the city is keeping up with modern trends by investing in an emerging startup scene full of young brainiacs with big ideas. A superpower in smartphone technology, robotics, and automobiles, Tokyo is famed for being one of the most advanced cities in the world. Tokyo's mass transit system, only part of which runs underground, is the busiest in the world, ferrying more than 8.7 million commuters a day, and more than 3.2 billion annually, along its 200 miles of tracks. Both formal and casual, traditional and high-tech, Tokyo's contrasts are what make it so endlessly fascinating. All in one, Tokyo is an incredible destination, and the top tourist attractions are Sensoji Temple, Tsukiji Market, Shibuya Pedestrian Crossing, Tokyo Tower and Tokyo Imperial Palace. Japan's government is a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary regime, where the emperor's power is limited to mainly ceremonial duties. The government has 3 branches: the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. The emperor is the head of state and the imperial family. His position does not influence the activities of the government in any way. The prime minister, therefore, is the head of the government. The Japanese constitution was adopted in 1947, and it has not been amended since it was enacted. Currently, the Emperor of Japan, Naruhito, is the only remaining head of state in the world with the monarchical title of Emperor, and the Prime Minister is Fumio Kishida. The yen is the official currency of Japan. It is the third most traded currency in the foreign exchange market, after the United States dollar and the euro. It is abbreviated as follows: yen, JP or JPN. The national flag of Japan was adopted on January 26, 1870, and officially recognized on August 13, 1999. The Japanese flag is made up of a red circle, symbolizing the sun, against a white background. It is known as the Hinomaru in Japanese, meaning circle of the sun. Because Japan lies at the far west of the Pacific Ocean, the sun rises spectacularly over the sea to the east. Japan is part of the Ring of Fire, an area of increased volcanic and seismic activity circling the Pacific Ocean. The islands of Japan are part of an island arc, a curved series of volcanic islands that form above a hotspot in the Earth's mantle or near a tectonic plate boundary where one plate is forced downward toward the mantle. As volcanic debris builds up, it forms islands. The position of Japan on the Ring of Fire means the country experiences more earthquakes than most and is vulnerable to tsunamis, giant waves caused by underwater earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. More than 1,000 earthquakes hit Japan every year. Japan also has about 200 volcanoes, 60 of which are active. The method of island formation means that Japan is quite rugged with mountains covering around 75% of its landmass. The average elevation of Japan is 438 meters above sea level, with its highest point atop Mount Fuji with a height of 3,776 meters above sea level. Mount Fuji is also a dormant volcano with a last recorded eruption in 1707. This mountainous setting creates rivers that generally are short and have steep channel slopes. The rivers carry their sediment to the flatlands where they deposit it to form moderately sized alluvial plains. Due to the large north-south extension of the country, the climate varies strongly in different regions. The climate in most of the major cities, including Tokyo, is temperate to subtropic and consists of 4 seasons. The winter is mild and the summer is hot and humid. There is a rainy season in early summer, and typhoons hit parts of the country every year, especially during late summer. The climate of the northern island of Hokkaido and the Sea of Japan coast is colder, and snow falls in large amounts. In Okinawa, on the other hand, the mean temperature of January is a warm 17 degrees Celsius. Japan is one of the most popular travel destinations in the world. It is a unique blend of traditional and modern, with many temples and buildings from the past coexisting with modern achievements in architecture and technology. Visitors can be immersed in Japanese history and culture one day and get a glimpse of the future through technological developments the next. Almost all of the historical sites are still used for their original purposes while remaining open to the public. The natural beauty of Japan can be seen all year. In addition, Japan has one of the world's lowest crime rates, which makes it ideal for travelers. Without a doubt, Japan's most recognizable landmark is majestic Mount Fuji. It is tall enough to be seen from Tokyo, more than 100 kilometers away. Mount Fuji has for centuries been celebrated in art and literature and is now considered so important an icon that UNESCO recognized its world cultural significance in 2013. Part of the Fuji-Hakonizu National Park, Mount Fuji is climbed by more than 1 million people each summer as an act of pilgrimage, which culminates in watching the sunrise from its summit. One of Japan's most visited cities is lovely Kyoto. This is traditional Japan as you imagined it, geisha in brightly colored kimonos emerging from wooden tea houses, forests of bamboo, temples and shrines in gold and silver and scarlet, raked gravels and gardens, intricate feasts served on lacquered plates, graceful tea ceremonies, and markets full of intriguing but unidentifiable ingredients. Jin is a place to spot geisha. Higashiyama has many beautiful temples to explore, and Arashiyama, up in the western hills, is one of the most traditional neighborhoods and home to bamboo groves, quirky temples, and monkeys. While little needs to be said here of the horrors of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima in August 1945, much can be said of the incredible efforts this vibrant city has made to commemorate the many victims of the world's first nuclear attack. Perhaps even more importantly, Hiroshima has become a symbol of lasting peace. Visited by more than 1 million people each year, many from overseas, Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park lies at the epicenter of the atomic blast in what was once a bustling part of the city. Here you'll find a number of important monuments, memorials, and museums relating to the events of that fateful day. Nara was Japan's first permanent capital and is full of historic treasures including many UNESCO World Heritage Sites. It's one of the top Japan attractions and makes a rewarding trip to visit the temples and wild deer in Nara Park. The Dobutsuden, Hall of the Great Buddha, at Tadaiji is the main site. It's the largest wooden building in the world and nothing prepares you for the immense sight. Inside is the 15-meter-tall gold and bronze statue of Buddha that dates back to 751. Located in the Shibuya area in Tokyo, Shibuya Crossing is widely known as the busiest crossing in the world. It consists of 5 crossroads which allow pedestrians to come and go in every direction of the crossing. At the busiest time of the day, more than 3,000 people are estimated to cross it at the same time without bumping into each other, which creates an incredible view. Thanks to its seamless blend of the ancient and modern, Japan is a fascinating, exciting and culturally unique destination. From serene Shinto shrines to high-tech toilets, let's take a look at just some of the things that Japan is most famous for. To say that Japan is famous for cherry blossom trees would be an understatement. Every spring, the cherry blossom season in Japan attracts visitors for its sakura flowers, whose fleeting beauty is a symbol of the seasons changing. Sitting beneath the cherry blossoms for a picnic is a leisurely pastime and an age-old tradition for Japanese people. Often, you will see crowds gathering in the places where the flowers bloom aplenty, such as Ueno Park, Meguro River, and Shinjuku-gyon in Tokyo. Geisha are a big part of Japanese tradition and culture, and something that the country is definitely famous for. They are women who entertain through various forms of art, singing and dancing. Many modern geishas live in geisha houses called okiya, especially during their training. They traditionally wear kimonos and ashirwa makeup. Ashirwa literally stands for white powder, which refers to the very pale complexion of geisha. Geisha also wear a type of wooden sandals that resemble flip-flops, known as geta. But not all geisha wear these. Mako, geisha in training, wear geta that have no teeth on the bottom, and they are called okobo. There is a misconception in the Western world that geisha are the Eastern equivalent of prostitutes. They are not. This is mostly because of interactions with Oiran courtesans, who wore clothes and makeup similar to those of geisha. Samurai and ninja warriors played a pivotal role in the history of Japan. Serving feudal lords and enjoying special privileges, the samurai usually belonged to noble classes of Japanese society. They were military nobility if you like. Ninjas, on the other hand, belonged to the lower classes of Japanese society and were trained as assassins and mercenaries. Think of them as covert ops men. Futuristic toilets. It might sound funny, but Japan has some of the most advanced toilets on the planet, with heated seats, buttons to play music and event built-in bidets. There is even a transparent public toilet outdoors in Shibuya, Tokyo. However, the colored glass turns opaque when someone enters it. Japanese women are said to be rather shy when it comes to public bathrooms habits. Uplifting music and running water sounds from the toilet on demand can mask other less pleasant sounds. Japan is known for its vending machines which offer a dizzying array of things you need and things that you didn't think you needed. There are the usual suspects: water, cigarettes, soft drinks and snacks. There's the not-so-usual, flowers, t-shirts, eggs. And then there's the downright weird, lobsters, used underwear, dog wigs or cats and kittens. Japan is pretty famous for its comics and cartoons, known as manga and anime. Not only are they popular forms of entertainment worldwide, but you can also find all kinds of memorabilia relating to them in various stores throughout the country. Comics and graphic novels known as manga originate from Japan but are insanely popular worldwide. They include a very broad range of genres and are translated into many other languages. And they conform to a style that was developed in Japan in the 19th century. Anime, on the other hand, are hand-drawn animations that originate from Japan. The word anime means animation, and so it includes all kinds of animated media, from cartoons and TV shows. This medium focuses on realism and animation of movement and tells part of the story with cinematography and characterization. Origami is another art form that Japan is famous for. Originating in the Edo period, this art of paper folding allows you to transform a flat square of paper into an exquisite sculpture. Cuts, glue or markings on the paper are strongly discouraged. Invented by a Japanese drummer named Daisuke Inoue in the 1970s, the karaoke machine began as a way for people to sing at the club without live backup singers. Over the years, it has evolved into a popular form of live music entertainment. Kara means empty in Japanese, while oke is the shortened version of orchestra, which translates to orchestra. Together, it means empty orchestra, which is exactly what you get when you sing along to an instrumental track on a screen. Of course, we could go on and on about the list of things Japan is famous for, but we hope that at least I aroused your curiosity and you will continue to discover this country. Sushi, teppanyaki, sukiyaki, ramen, yakitori, onigiri. When it comes to cuisine, Japan is heaven on earth. Japanese cuisine is famous all over the world, and in many big cities in the US and Europe, you can't walk for 5 minutes without seeing a sushi restaurant or a sushi shop. Food, in general, holds a special place in Japan. From all the small izakayas to the high-end restaurants. Did you know that Japan has more Michelin-starred restaurants than France, or actually than any other country? Japan's most internationally famous dish, sushi, is also internationally misunderstood. Most people are mistaken in believing that sushi is simply raw fish. Rather, good sushi is a vigilant combination of vinegared rice, raw fish and vegetables, and comes in many different forms. Sushi nigiri is the most well-known variety, with a slice of raw fish or egg or vegetable perched atop a small bundle of rice. Maki sushi is the variety that is rolled in nori, seaweed. Tamaki sushi is cone-shaped and full of assorted ingredients. Inari sushi features deep-fried tofu wrapped around the rice. Among the thousands of sushi shops in Tokyo alone, you are sure to find a variety that suits you. Ramen, egg noodles in a salty broth, is Japan's favorite late-night meal. It's also the perfect example of an imported dish that the Japanese have made completely and deliciously their own. There are 4 major soup styles: tonkotsu, miso, soy sauce and salt. Fukuoka is particularly famous for its rich tonkotsu ramen, while pungent miso ramen is a specialty of Hokkaido. Light and fluffy tempura is Japan's contribution to the world of deep-fried foods. The batter-coated seafood and vegetables are traditionally fried in sesame oil and served with either a tiny pool of salt or a dish of soy sauce-flavored broth spiked with grated radish for dipping. Mochi is a Japanese dessert made of sweet glutinous rice flour, or makigum. With a chewy, smooth, elastic texture, mochi dough is often tinted with green tea powder or other food colorings and wrapped around a sweet center to form small, bite-sized confections. In its traditional form, this kind of mochi is filled with sweet red bean paste. Japan is pretty famous for its tea ceremonies, known as way of tea. They include ceremonial preparation and presentation of matcha, powdered green tea. Tea ceremonies are very important to Japanese culture. It is not actually about drinking tea, but rather about the movement of preparing it, and focusing all your attention on it. Even the placement of the utensils is very important. Tea houses are actually called chashitsu, and they were originally built by monks as a gathering place for this ceremony. They are prominent for the sliding wooden doors, tatami mat floors and shoji windows. Sake is an alcoholic drink made from fermented rice. Often referred to as Nihonshu in Japanese, the drink enjoys widespread popularity and is served at all types of restaurants and drinking establishments. And as interest in Japanese cuisine has grown internationally, sake has started to become a trendy and recognizable drink around the world. Japan can be considered fairly athletic in that there is a lot of interest with different sports. Soccer and baseball are arguably the most popular sports in Japan, and one of the most widely watched. However, there are so many more sports and activities, many of them traditional to Japan, that are still practiced even today. Many historians believe that sumo wrestling began as an ancient Shinto ritual. Today, it's the national sport of Japan. Physical strength plays an important role in this famous sport, where a professional sumo wrestler must force their opponent out of the ring or make them touch the floor with a part of their body that isn't the soles of their feet. To do this, the wrestlers will push, grapple, or shove their opponent down with sheer force. Judo is one of the most famous of the Japanese martial arts. It remains a strong element of the country's sports fabric and is a major focus throughout the country. Judo was established in 1882 by combining jiu-jitsu, a form of wrestling, with mental discipline. The basic principle is the use of self-defense techniques countering your opponent's offense. Other traditional sports in Japan are Aikido, Karate, Kendo. The people from this country are known for their contribution in culture, science and technology, religion and philosophy, fine arts, and literature. Here are some of the most famous Japanese people that you need to know. Haruki Murakami is a prolific Japanese writer. All his books and stories have been bestsellers in Japan as well as internationally. The books have also been translated into 50 languages and selling millions of copies outside his country. His most notable works include A Wild Sheep Chase, Norwegian Wood, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, Kafka on the Shore, and 1Q84. Considered one of the most prominent filmmakers in the history of animated films, Hayao Miyazaki is a Japanese animator and manga artist. A co-founder of Studio Ghibli, Miyazaki has gained worldwide acclaim as a maker of animated films and a masterful storyteller. Miyazaki has served as an inspiration to several world-renowned animators and directors, including James Cameron and Wes Anderson. Naoko Takeuchi is a renowned manga artist, famous for creating the manga series Sailor Moon. This series is one of the most popular manga comics of all time. The series inspired the live-action movies Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon, the movie, and Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, Special Act. She has gone on to create some of the most beloved manga comics of all time. Additionally, she has also written the lyrics for some of the most popular anime songs. Yuzuru Hanyu is a Japanese figure skater. Considered one of the greatest male figure skaters of all time, Hanyu became only the second figure skaters ever to receive 2 successive Olympic gold medals. He achieved this feat in 2014 and 2018. He also won the 2024 Continents Championships, becoming the only male singles skater to accomplish a super slam. Japanese tennis star Naomi Osaka made history by being the first player of Asian origin to hold the world #1 rank in singles. Osaka made headlines when in 2021, she withdrew from the French Open after refusing to be part of a press conference to protect her mental health. Isoroku Yamamoto was a Marshal Admiral of the Imperial Japanese Navy. During World War II, he served as the Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet and oversaw operations such as the Pearl Harbor attack. He died when his fighter plane was shot down by the U.S. Air Forces. Famous for her marriage to John Lennon, Yoko Ono, a peace activist, conceptual artist and avant-garde musician in her own right, was born in Tokyo in 1933 before emigrating with her family to New York after World War II. She was dubbed by Lennon as the world's most famous unknown artist due to everyone knowing her name without being aware of the sheer amount of work she's created. She continues to strive for peace today, making a profound difference through her activism and support of gun control and against fracking. Her most famous performance, Cut Piece, features Ono on stage as the audience cut her clothes with scissors. Of course, there is a lot to talk about, and we've barely scratched the surface of this rich country, but we hope you enjoyed our video, and you'll join us in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.